are live. And for some of you, some of my special guests out there, kaboom. Kaboom for some of you. Welcome, everybody. Welcome to Linked Up on LinkedIn. I'm Peter Clarke, Red TV, and I'm pretty pumped today, to say the very least, because of my guests. I'm always pumped for my guests, just so you know, but this one a little special just because of everyone knows them. So that's why I'm excited, because we just met like 5 minutes ago. So this is fantastic. I mean, we talk online and do everything. So I follow his journey, Voice Your Vibe. Everyone knows who I'm talking about. That fine, good-looking fellow over there. Please, everybody, welcome Brian Shulman. How are you, my fine friend?
I'm doing great, Peter. How are you?
Good, man. I'm doing great. Great. Good to see you, man. I appreciate you taking the time to come out and hang out for a little bit and have a quick chat and just learn a little bit more about you, as if people need to see more of you online.
No, it's good to be with you. I appreciate you asking me to come onto the show.
Oh, fantastic. Fantastic. Well, listen, I did not know the date, but this is a special date for you. I did not know this. I just literally learned this probably 15 minutes ago. So listen to this, everybody. 17 years on LinkedIn every single day. I haven't got enough fingers. Every single day. 900 LinkedIn videos.
Close. Almost there.
Almost,
yeah.
I think you're 890, something like that.
Yeah.
Right? 50,000 followers, 48 and change. Hey, 50. Let's go with 50. We rounded up to 50, everybody. That's more than Fenway Park, just so you know, a little bit of stat that was thrown at me. Hey, man, congratulations on all that.
Thank you. It's been a truly incredible journey, literally a life-changing journey. Never would have expected any of it to happen the way that it did, and that's all because of the just amazing people that that have been brought into my life. So I'm just so grateful.
I follow what you do. I follow and it's funny, and I gotta listen. Everything I do is transparent. Okay. So I always get confused because it's Voice Your Vibe. It's Voice Your Vibe. And you call it Vibe Tribe. And so I'm always saying voice your tribe, voice your, just like, if I mix that up while we're chatting today, I apologize. I know it's called Voice Your Vibe, but I noticed on my graphic, it said Voice Your Vibe. I was like, oh, great, Peter, you're such a pro. So I just wanted to tell you, I do know the difference of your brand and so on. So listen, that's what I want to talk to you about today. There's so much to cover. I always recommend, obviously, for people to go out, first of all, to check out the LinkedIn profile. You can learn everything about Brian there. We could go through so many different things. We need much longer of a show than we have today. So please go out and visit his LinkedIn profile. Now, because there are 750 million people on LinkedIn and you have 50,000 followers, there's a couple of people who might not know who you are. So in case there is somebody right now watching right now, maybe a Coles Note version, can you talk about like your business philosophy for Voice Your Vibe, and basically, how you help people through your company and your journey called Voice Your Vibe?
Yeah, sure. So, I mean, it all started from the beginning for me. It never would have started my company if I didn't wind up on LinkedIn. So 17 years every day on the platform, known as the godfather of LinkedIn video, which still makes me laugh.
But godfather. Yeah.
Look, I'm so old. Good genes, I guess. Good genes. Yes, thank you, Mom. Yes. It's been an incredible experience. I mean, I've worked with C-suite execs and founders and Fortune execs for years. And those who want to find their voice and show up and don't know how, I always say it's the heart of it all that matters. And Voice Your Vibe is all about teaching you how to find your voice and voice your vibe and attract your tribe, and how to find that bravery and courage inside of yourself to tell a story that people will fall in love with and do so on video, whether it be live, like LinkedIn Live, or native, like LinkedIn Video.
Sure. No, fantastic. And of course, of all years that this has been amplified, it's this year, right? I mean, right now, C-suite executives and owners and founders, everybody who currently probably had a marketing team or an online team, realize that they actually have to become the face of some of their voicing. So this makes a lot of sense to voice your vibe and build a tribe. Makes a lot of sense today. Let's talk about something that I know you're passionate about, family. I mean, first of all, I know you're married to your best friend. I mean, that's the coolest thing to say in the world, right? 21 years-ish. Am I right about that?
Yeah, 21 years this past July.
There you go. Fantastic. And you're a couple kids, and I know that they're actually not kids. I mean, they're more like young adults now, right?
They are. My daughter, who's actually on the other side of me, is 20. She's a sophomore in college, and my son is a senior in high school. My
Fantastic.
monkeys.
Yeah, that's what, exactly. Yeah, that's right. And you know, and I love that. I mean, I love the fact that you talk about that a lot. And of course, family is so important to you. You know, and your personal brand is all about, you know, you talk about LinkedIn family, and I think that's really a really nice transition to the to what I sort of wanted to understand from your perspective. You know, because you have such a strong family and it's so important to you. You know, from your perspective, can you give me like the parallels you think there are that basically is between building a strong foundation at home and a strong foundation on LinkedIn, like a LinkedIn family?
Oh, sure. And it's crazy because the hashtag LinkedIn fam, Sunny Tanan and I, another creator, my brother from another, we can't figure out which one of us actually created it, but it was like it was like at the same time, and it's the meaning, right? I mean, we truly are a family on this platform, and that was something that was fostered and kind of came to be through LinkedIn Video. And we were all showing up and supporting one another. And you hear words like love, support, and encouragement. And that's not something you would ever expect to hear on a business social networking platform, right?
Right.
So it's a road that we all paved together, and you see it, and more importantly, you feel it, right? You truly feel it on this platform. And I think for me, showing up every day for the last 17 years on the platform, I mean, I found a voice I never knew I had, Peter. I showed up and voiced my vibe and attracted my tribe that I never knew was there. And I got on LinkedIn Video and found something inside of me that I didn't know existed, and sharing really personal stories from my heart, being inspired by so many other creators and fellow fellow pioneers of LinkedIn Video, so that you could get to know more of who I was, right? And my why, and which is inspiring one person a day, which has always been, by the way, my mission ever since I came to LinkedIn. It was never about business. It was just, I wanted to impact people, and I didn't know how, because 17 years ago, it was a digital resume and just a place to look for a job. There was no way to
That's right.
engage, create, or anything. But yes, I mean, family's everything to me. I was a pound and a half miracle baby that wasn't supposed to live in the 70s. And I grew up with a neurological disorder called Tourette's syndrome, which are uncontrollable tics and twitches. And
hey, you're taking over this. You're all over my interview. I'm just kidding with you. I'm jumping in. That's the producer in me. That's the producer.
Oh, no, for sure. Well, family, you're talking about family, and I'm giving background because it's important, totally. And right? I just
wanted to know what you thought the parallels, like maybe the parallels, because again, I think I heard what you said there. I mean, it really is about this, the transparency, the openness of the conversation, wanting to help somebody. Obviously, you want to help family members and so on. And I just thought it was fascinating that you have such a tight knit family at home, and of course, you always talk about LinkedIn family. So there's definitely a parallel there of how you come up to each of those.
No, it's true. And I give you this background and context because that's where it comes from, right? I mean, my mom is my genuine hero, and going through what I did growing up and dealing with a lot of adversity and bullying and always being the small and the weird kid, I just wanted to blend in. Right. And I realized that I just needed to be me. And by being me, I was inspiring others by sharing my story and my voice. And my mom was always there supporting me every step of the way. It was really hard. I didn't really know who I was until later in life, because there was just so much going on, right? I didn't understand myself all that much. I certainly didn't understand people, because I didn't get how people could treat people a certain way. But my mom was always there supporting me and lifting me up. And I needed a lot of attention. I was like a squirrel. I was all over the place, and it was really hard to retain stuff. But she was always there to help me in so many different ways. So yeah,
that is fantastic. No, and I was just joking with you there about the jumping in, but let's go there. Let's go there. Picture this. I feel like one of the Golden Girls now. Picture this, Sicily, 1929. Picture Los Angeles, everybody. Picture Los Angeles, May 13th, 1975. How about that? 3 months premature. So you're a pound and a half. And let's face it. I mean, premature births in 1975 is much different than 2020. I mean, the technology even. So the risk of you not being here was extrapolated tremendously back in 1975. So,
Yeah.
it's very stressful for a family. It's obviously very stressful for your mom. You talked about your mom being your hero. I'm wondering now that you look back at that, what's the qualities, or maybe some of the qualities that you admired most about your mom that that she lived through that such a stressful time and was able to bring you to the person you are today, and maybe how that might have influenced you as a father right now as well.
I don't think there's enough time on the show and enough time and breath in my lungs to literally share all of it. I mean, look, as a parent, I can only begin to imagine what she was going through and felt when I was in the hospital for as long as I was, and these thick-walled incubators that they weren't prepared for stuff like this, but wires all attached to me, strapped down because I kept apparently trying to pull them out, breathing, not breathing. Like, you bring a child into the world, and those are not the things that you're thinking about, and to have that thrusted upon you, right? And then find out that there's something different about your child, right? And going from doctor to doctor to doctor, and test upon test upon test, and every doctor saying the same thing in the 80s. Oh, it's just, he'll grow out of it. He'll be fine, right? Because they didn't have an answer. And my mom, the persistent, amazing woman that she is, was like, no, the hell you say, there's something wrong with my kid. I'm going to find someone who has an answer. And we eventually wound up at UCLA Medical Center, where they gave us a name for this thing. And it was really early in the 80s. It was really early, but I mean, gosh, there's so many different examples, Peter. I'd come home as a little guy crying and saying, why does nobody like me, and why does everybody keep making fun of me? Because I didn't understand. Because the thing with Tourette's is, like, you don't know you're doing them, and they're uncontrollable. And so I remember this one time, she reminded me of this, took me into the bathroom, and we sat down on this bench, and there was this big mirror in front of us. And she said, okay, I want you to see something. And I said, okay. And she did every tick and twitch I was doing at the time, which, by the way, were like these intense neck twitches and wrist flicking and facial expressions and auditory noises and so many other things. And they would commingle sometimes, right? And so she would do all that, and then she'd say, okay, let her rip. Whatever you got, just let it out. Because unbeknownst to me, I would try and suppress it, which is like a volcano waiting to explode.
Sure.
But I let it all out, and then my mom puts on some music, and we start dancing. So this is my amazing mom, who is always there to take me up and take me out and help me along the way. I mean, my mom was there for many steps of my LinkedIn video journey in the early days, and just so many other things. I always say I'm the man.
It's okay. Take your time.
Sorry.
Okay, take your time.
I am the man and the human being and the father that I am today because of her. And I think people come into our lives with purpose, and they have an impact on us, right? And I don't know. I always said I wanted to be my mom in dad form, and just be, because she was there for everything. I needed a lot of attention, and she was there for everything. And as impact, like, I didn't want to miss any moments of my kids' lives, because that was really important to me. I knew I always wanted to be a dad, again, because of the impact on me. And I knew I didn't want to miss any moments, and I'm talking about important moments like, late night feedings and tooth losses and competitions and recitals and, and late night homeworks and all of that. It's all experience. We can't turn the clock back. We only get one shot. And it was something that was really, really important to me. So family is really important to me, and people in my life. We talk about LinkedIn fam. I mean, I'd jump on train tracks for any one of them, and that's amazing.
It is amazing. I think what's amazing is, first of all, I appreciate you sharing that story and how you feel about your mom. I totally relate. I don't have my mom anymore, so that's why I'm super sensitive to anyone who still has that connection. Brother, you're a super lucky guy. So sounds like you have an amazing mom. Talk about Tourette for a second. Tourette syndrome. People know it as Tourette's. I mean, and what's sad about, obviously, that it's so unknown. It's so unknown, and unfortunately, it is connected in the past with, bad, distasteful jokes and things like that. It's not so good, obviously. And when you're a kid, I mean, you don't know how to function. You don't know how to filter what's serious, what's a joke, and obviously it's not very funny when you have it. So I'm wondering if you can, now that you're older and you've beat that. I mean, you've obviously come out on the other side, and now you use your. I think it's actually spectacular that you actually use your voice now, and it's in your brand that you use your voice to inspire others to lift and amplify what they're about. What do you think to having that as a kid taught you? What do you think that brought forward for you as an adult?
That's a really good question, Peter. So again, growing up and through it, and I mentioned kind of the evolution, and on a scale of 1 to 10, I was probably like a 6 or a 7. When you talk about 8, 9, 10, you're talking about vulgarity, like swearing, physical, like impacting violence on yourself, or there's all sorts of stuff that can happen. I was not on that end of the spectrum, and I took medication for years, but I wound up stopping. It was 8th grade. And I remember again, my mom reminds me of a lot of these conversations because I forget some of that stuff. And it was a moment before I grew up Jewish by faith, and I was getting bar mitzvahed, and I had said to her, this was just right before all this was happening. And it's like the coming into a man, right? Every faith has kind of a stepping stone, right, of going from child to adulthood, if you will. And I had said to her, I don't want to take these drugs anymore. And it was a suppressor. It was a drug called clonidine, and it was what they had given me to try and help kind of suppress it. There's no cure for Tourette's,
right?
But this was something to try and help. The challenge was the horrible side effects. So I had said to her, I don't want to take the medicine anymore. And like any great mother, okay, like supportive, right? Are you sure? There's going to be a lot of people here, and are you okay with that? And apparently, what I said to her was, they're all here for me, and they know who I am, and I'm okay with it. So I never took the medication again. And I wound up, there were 3 natural calming mechanisms. And I bring this up just because a lot of folks with Tourette's have this in common, and folks that have Tourette's also, some aren't aware that these things can help. So one is music. Like you, I've been a musician my whole life.
Yeah,
I actually grew up playing. I started with the piano, learned how to play bass from Prescott Niles from the Knack. Awesome. And played at the Whiskey in LA. I was in a studio with a band for a while.
Did you really? You played the Whiskey?
I did. It was awesome. Such an awesome experience.
Love it. Awesome.
Yeah. But when we had, we're getting ready to have our first, my daughter family was more important to me. So I could have gone in a whole other direction, and that wasn't where I wanted to be. This was more important. So anyway, you made a point about Tourette's being kind of quote unquote new. And even now, right? I mean, this was again in the 80s when it kind of came out as this is what this is called and what this thing is. And there's still so much recognition that is needed, insights that are needed. Yes. But there's some really cool things that happen when you talk about awareness as a child, right? Excuse me. When I was in high school, I remember like it was yesterday, walking through the halls. I was walking up the stairs. A classmate of mine was walking down the stairs in the mix of a bunch of other people. And I happened to catch him out of the corner of my eye, and he did 3 ticks, one right after the other. Oh. And I knew in an instant he had Tourette's, and I knew he had no idea. And I went home to my mom and I said, one of my classmates has Tourette's. I have no doubt in my mind. Wow. And so long story short, we wound up taking some steps to help them be aware of and understand that this is what this is. And that's a really hard thing to do, right? Especially when you don't know what's going on as a kid or as parents and your child. So that was something that was really impactful for me, because if I hadn't been aware, I never would have caught it. It's like anything, right? You want to buy a red car, you see red cars everywhere, right? Or whatever, those kind of things that you have a sense of awareness around. So there were moments along the way. Mind you, this was not something that I talked about.
Okay.
It wasn't something I was bringing up. I brought it up every now and then in conversation. I thought it might help somebody, but it was really a rare thing. Okay. Because I didn't want to be looked at differently, treated differently. I mentioned earlier, all I wanted to do was blend in. Right. And I didn't want it to affect my my life in all the ways that it could, because it had, and I was trying to curb all of that. So anyway, music was one. Dancing was
Fantastic.
another. My mom always said, I'm going to teach you how to dance and you're going to love me for it because all the girls are going to love you. And because
That's
most
true.
boys don't dance, right? And I'm like,
That's
okay.
true.
And yeah, now here's the thing psychologically, and I did get a degree in psychology because I wanted to better
Yes.
understand myself, and I want to better understand people and why we do the things we do, and again, treat people the way we do. And it was really interesting to me because when I thought about it in reflection, in a sea of people that are waving and flaring their bodies and making noises and facial expressions and all these things, right, that normally they wouldn't do if they were walking down the street, right? That was me in real life, and yet maybe I
Right.
felt normal in a sea of people that didn't in the moment, right? Or could
Right.
let loose, right?
Yeah.
But yes, so dancing has always been a part of my life. Such an
That makes a lot of sense
incredible.
to me. I did that. You did that visual you just gave me makes so much sense that all of a sudden you're on a dance floor, it's dark, and people are kind of sort of minding their own business, but everyone's doing their own thing. And they're doing all the things that in a public setting might look over at you and go, what's wrong here? Right. And all of a
Right?
sudden now you're amongst your own. You find it's
Yeah.
almost like a tribe of its own, right?
Yeah,
Wow, that's amazing.
exactly. So you have music, you have dancing, and then you have comedy. And
Oh,
it's interesting,
yes.
again, I look back in reflection, like I loved physical comedians when I was growing up. Jim
Yes.
Carrey, Richard Pryor,
Mm.
Eddie Murphy, Sam Kinison, the Three Stooges.
Yeah.
I mean, seriously, there were so many. Robin Williams,
Yes.
um, and they were all physical comedians in their own ways, right? And I again, it just it hit me, and I'm like, wow, I could relate to them because they
Mm.
were all doing something that I would be doing. And I figured too at the same time, I'm like, okay, well, if people are going to make fun of me and laugh at me, I'd love to try and do it on my own terms. And so I got
Nice.
really good at impressions as a kid and would just do them.
Yeah.
Uh, the weird thing about it all, Peter, is that it all kind of takes me back to current day, right? I mean, anybody that's seen my LinkedIn live shows,
Mhm.
it incorporates music, it incorporates dancing, it incorporates fun and comedy.
That's right.
So again, all just happenstance. So now again, we're kind of ping ponging back and forth, but I jump into the LinkedIn world.
Yeah.
My very first video was sharing the story about being a miracle baby and pound and a half, not supposed to
Mhm.
live, and Tourette's and all of that. And you can all read the story on my profile. It's under my featured section. It says this is LinkedIn video, and I take you from the very beginning down to through a good part of the journey.
Sure.
And I up until that point, I didn't look at weird and different for me as a good thing. Again, just wanted to
Mm.
blend in, right? So it
Yeah.
wasn't something I had talked about, but I was so inspired to share my story because of other creators on the platform. Swish Goswami talking about a sweet speech impediment, and you had Michaela Alexis, and you had Authentic Alex in London, and you had so many that were showing up and sharing really personal stories from their heart, right?
Right.
Because that was the hashtag that kind of kicked this whole thing off was let's get honest. And I was so inspired, but I was terrified to share it for so many different reasons, right? Because it wasn't something I had
Mm.
shared in the business
Well,
world
no one no
ever.
one no one
Once in the early days of my career when I
yeah, I
had
mean,
no
you just when does that come up in a conversation? You go for a job interview or you're talking to somebody about
Well,
I mean, that
yeah.
just doesn't come up. And like you said, you're trying to fit in. So the last thing you want to bring up is your most vulnerable piece of who you are, right?
So true. But there was one moment that I did it, Peter, and it was early days in my career, and I didn't have many legs, if you will, to stand on. I was going for a sales job, and I'm like, okay, well, and this was a booming up and coming company in San Diego. And I'm like, okay, well, I'll just tell my story. It's about tenacity and grit and
Mm.
struggle and failure and success because I'm here. Like I've gotten up every time. I've kept going, and just give me a shot, right? Everyone gets a shot, and we all deserve a shot. And so I met with like 8 different hiring managers and a bunch of different other people in between. And I did share the story. And at the end of every one, it was the same exact thing. Well, that's a great story, but why should we hire you?
Wow.
And I walked out of there with my head down and my tail between my legs. And I said to myself, I'm never going to talk about that again. And I didn't.
Wow. Wow.
I didn't.
And so you took,
now,
did you take that negatively? Did you take that negatively? Because when you said that to me right away, I thought, well, I thought that was actually, and correct me if I'm wrong, I thought they were saying to you basically, well, we don't care about that. We're not going to judge you on that. We want to judge you on your merit.
Yeah, the thing was, there was no merit to really judge, right? Which is why I shared the story in the first place, right? I'm like, okay, hey, look, I will work harder than anyone, right? Give me a shot. And so I was trying to think of how can I help them understand the weight that comes with, you know, a word. And so that was the whole point, right? So it was the opposite. Now, the really cool thing, Peter, is having shared that story and all the love, support, and encouragement that I got in doing that, talking about impact and what overcoming it taught me, I've met by happenstance, right? The universe does these amazing things. I've met numerous people on LinkedIn that have Tourette's. My brother, Jake Melton. And again, Tom, there's a number of people that I met on LinkedIn that have Tourette's. And I remember the very first conversations that we had. Jake is a great one. And I'm so proud of each and every one of the amazing human beings that have Tourette's that are on LinkedIn that got on LinkedIn and just were them. They were 100% them and letting their Tourette's out and just sharing. And Jake was one of the first with me. And I remember a specific video in particularly where, and I know how hard this was for him, to literally put his phone on the table, no talking, and literally just twitch. It was just him twitching. And to be that comfortable with yourself, to put yourself out there that way. The coolest thing about that was that all of the people that were showing up in the comments, parents of kids who have Tourette's, adults who have Tourette. And I would be going into the comments and talking to each one of them, tagging my mom saying, if you ever want to talk, let me know. My mom would love to talk to you. I know she would. And I remember meeting a mom in the comments, and she said she had a young son who has Tourette's. And she said she would love to talk if I would be open to, making the time. And we wound up getting on a Zoom together. And she started out by saying, my son, he's not here, as you can tell, because he's just a little nervous. So I said, it's okay. Just, we can talk. And we talked for a bit. And then I saw her son start to come down the stairs. And he sat down next to her. He has to, at that time, I think he was like 10 or 11, I think. And he sat down and we said hi and just kind of started to talk. And I started to share a little bit and let him know I could truly understand and imagine everything he's feeling and what he's gone through, because that was me at his age. And we had a really amazing conversation together, the three of us, both kind of one-on-one, individually and together. And afterwards, the mom had a moment and she just said, thank you.
Wow.
We really, this means so much.
I feel you, brother. It's cool, man. Hey, take a breath. It's okay. It's all cool.
I realized that this disorder, right, this neurological disorder, and everything that I had gone through, grown through, to take me to current, was not, it wasn't about me. It was about sharing my story to be able to help others that are going through something themselves, whether they have Tourette's or not, right? And by sharing, right, it's all about relatability, right?
Yeah.
And think about it too. I mean, in these times that we're living in, right, the last 9 months, this pandemic, we're all yearning for connection. We want to connect with people that we can relate with, because it's all about relatability. But you never know how your story is going to impact somebody's life. And don't think too that, and again, this is part of this experience to me, right? Overcoming Tourette's has taught me so much. Finding a voice inside myself I never knew I had, realizing that I've been through everything I've been through to be able to share this story to help somebody else, right? To know that they have a voice and they have a story and that they matter, and that their voice and their story can positively affect, impact, and inspire another human being's life by showing up and just being you. And it's you'd sit there sometimes and go, well, yeah, why wouldn't you just be you? Anybody who hasn't put a camera in front of their face, a phone, whatever it is, like, trust me when I tell you, like, it is hard. It's so hard. I struggled so much because, Peter, the one thing I thought when I, got the alpha of LinkedIn video was, what if my Tourette's come out? Like, what is that going to turn into, right? Because again, nobody knew about all that stuff. And so it was a really big deal for me to share that. And I've shared it and shared it and shared. I've been on so many live shows and podcasts, and my story is about to be published in a friend's book, and just all these things. I've literally gone around the world and shared my story and the journey that goes with it, because it's our life that takes us here. We can go through so much pain and so much hardship and so much struggle, and feel like we don't have the strength to get through whatever it is, right?
Absolutely.
But I always say, we're never given anything we can't handle, whether we think we can or can't. And that we just have to keep going. We just have to get up one more time. We just have to fight one more time. And coming from where I have with, especially with Tourette's and again, fighting for the breaths just to make it into the world, I've gotten hit so many times along the way. I always say, I wanted to, being the weird kid and dealing with all the adversity and such growing up, I remember the moments where I said, I want to give out the opposite. It was in high school. I want to give out the opposite of the negative I had received around me. And there was a lot of positive, don't get me wrong, but I think we all can relate to the fact that sometimes one negative can overshadow 1,000 positives.
Oh, absolutely. Especially at young, especially in school.
Right? Of course. Well, yeah, as kids, right, Peter? It's like, being a kid is hard enough. School is not about it. My perception is it's about learning how to live in this world, right? How do you interact with people? How do you get from point A to point B? How do you understand structure? How do you, like, the framing of all of that, right? And then put one more thing like this on top of it, and being a kid, everybody wears their thing, wears everything on their shoulders, and there's no filters, and it just, so yeah, it can be hard, but I wanted to be a giver of good and light and love and strength and positivity and encouragement. Again, kind of boomeranging the opposite around. And I realized that life was 10% what was happening to me and 90% how I decided to react to it.
Right.
Now, I can't control what's happening around me, but I can decide how I want to react to it. So, and failure is an interesting thing too. Again, having grown up with Tourette's, school was not my bag. I was not great in school. I had a hard time retaining information. So I always say I've failed so much more in life and in business than I've succeeded. But I think the thing is that I've learned, like you learn, like I wanted to get a degree in psychology to learn why people do the things they do. I wanted to understand it, right? When we don't understand things, we react differently than when we do. Right. In fifth grade, I stood up in front of my classmates and the teachers and said, this is what I have, when I finally found out what it was. Right. And I was terrified and I think relieved at the same time to finally put a name to this and say, hey, you're not going to catch this thing. It's not like you get the cooties or, but here's what it is. And here's how we're working through it and all of that. Right. So awareness. And I think my own awareness of that, realizing that, okay, hey, just keep getting up, right? And just dust yourself off, keep going. You're not alone. Again, my mom was always there every step of the way. And that is, I always say why I've succeeded no matter what the outcome is. So overcoming Tourette's it's changed everything. coming to LinkedIn 17 years ago today with a purpose about giving good to the universe, and that no matter what was going on and no matter how stressed or whatever it was that was going on in my life or how crazy my day was, and I wanted to give out good 365, and I wanted to achieve my why earlier, which I told you was just about inspiring one person a
Just
day.
one person.
And we all have the ability to do that, Peter, just by showing up, right? Inspiring someone to chase their dreams and to believe enough to feel that feeling and know that you can accomplish anything, and just to keep getting up. It's hard to get up. The hardest part is starting and getting up and keep going. When you fall, to get up and do it again, and knowing that by getting up every time, that is succeeding. We don't think about that. We're looking way off in the distance at that mountain going, that's where I want to go, instead of realizing that all the times you fall and stumble along the way, like that's your learning, that's your growth, that's your success, right?
Fall 8 times, get up 9, right? Fall 8 times.
Exactly.
Get up 9.
That's exactly right. Exactly right. Or in these times, right? Putting a smile on somebody's face when they don't have one, just for a brief moment, or a laugh.
When you think about everything you just kind of packaged inside of this idea of the fact that you had this struggle and this, and then you were able to bring it to this platform and other platforms, obviously, and into your life, obviously, with your family, your wife, your best friend, your kids, and so on, and then now, and it's not ironic. I was going to say it's ironic, but it's actually not. It's just you were given that for that reason, and we don't understand this stuff. I'm not a deeply religious person. I'm certainly spiritual. I understand energy, but I have come very clear and grown to comfortable with the idea that whatever that gift is, the idea of not embracing it and not being able to help that one person has been just such a disservice to the world, because literally billions of people have done that. I can think of how many people in what you just described who just used Tourette's alone, never chased that job that they wanted, never studied to be a doctor because they wanted to, we've lost so much because of these things. And I know I've experienced it myself. It's this comfort zone of saying, this is what you're supposed to be doing, so just go do that, because it's not about you anymore. It's not about you. It's about helping other people. So I love that. Let me take you in a very close direction here, but I just wanted to get your take on this, because you talked about these times. It's very, very difficult, challenging year that we've had, and we continue to have, obviously. I know your two monkeys, your two kids are your pride and joy. And I'm just curious, the kinds of conversations that you might be having with them over the last 6 to 8 months. What kinds of things are you, as a dad, trying to have with them to remind them of gratitude and remind them of keeping perspective, and maybe keeping them optimistic about the future? What kinds of conversations are you having with them?
Yeah, I think, and this is, I think all parents, no matter what age your kids have been growing through that, right? This is not anything that we have ever experienced in our lifetime. And, it just continues to evolve and change and back and forward and sideways, and, and the effect of that, I think it'll impact everybody in a very different way, right? Yep. When it impacts somebody that's close to you, you are much closer to it.
Yes.
When you're watching it, through the screen, through the lens, right? And you're hearing about so many that are sick and so many that are dying. I mean, I have friends whose family members have gotten sick and they're gone now. So it affects me differently, right? But I think, you brought up a word that's so important, right? Which is gratitude. And, you see a lot of folks actually posting about this on LinkedIn too, about time. Time is short.
Yes.
You don't know what's going to happen. You don't know when it's going to happen. You don't know how long we have, on this Mother Earth. So being grateful, I always say I'm grateful for every breath that I have. Like literally, because I fought for every breath to make it into this world, right?
Yes. Right.
But I think it's just, it's just a level of awareness, awareness of all of us together, and the importance of safety, and making sure that, I always say we have to be physically distant, but we can be socially together. And, I think the younger generation, right, they're digitally in tuned, right? They literally came out with a phone, right? It's like came into this world, popped out with a phone.
They don't know one without it, do they? Yeah, they certainly just don't know without it. They just think
that's
it's
right.
It's so normal. It's like
No, for sure. But there's struggles with physical connection and not being able to have that. My son's a senior in high school. He hasn't been able to experience that true senior experience because he's, they were in school, they were out of school, they went back for a very brief period. A number of cases showed up in the school, and now they're back on digital. So, but I think it's just having an appreciation for life, and
well,
they're hard. They're hard
as a dad,
conversations.
for them to hear from this story from you, that's why I was thinking it must be. When you're around it, I think you're so close to it, you can't see it sometimes. So I'm going to assume that those kids obviously grew up knowing, knew your story, knew, that you were born premature, or did they?
Yeah. So this is so. Let me share something with you real quick. This is something I've shared on a number of podcasts and shows that I've been on. So January of 2018, my daughter walks into my home office, and I'm just doing some work, and she hands me a couple pieces of paper, and she doesn't say anything. She just hands them to me and sits down in the chair next to me, prompting as if she wanted me to read it while she was sitting there. And it said speech contest essay, and the title of it was Live to Inspire. Again, I had no idea what this was, right? So I'm reading it, and I'm realizing that it's about me. In her words, sharing my story. And I've never gotten through it without losing it, because it's just, I think as parents, you want to bring good, huge-hearted human beings in the world that can make the world a better place, right? Love others, make the world a better place, and make their impact, And you hope that you're not screwing up your kids' lives. And every parent has certainly gone through that. You're like, oh my gosh, I'm ruining my kid, and
that's your legacy. That's your legacy. That's a huge word for me. And I never take that lightly. Is the idea, like you said, that you look back, that you want to leave this earth thinking, wow, I left some great people behind. I left them in, this place better because they're here. So that's your legacy. I understand that. Yes, absolutely.
It is. So I read this, and I'm just Niagara Falls, and I look at her, and she's, losing it, and we wind up hugging for a little while. And I just, it was such a impactful moment for me, because I didn't know that she felt that way. I didn't know that she looked at me as someone that inspired her.
Yeah.
And
man, that's listen, that's heavy, cool legacy life stuff right there. Right there. You just handed it to us. That's it right there. When your child, who is no longer a child, who thinks for themselves, has awareness of the world, awareness around them, what's going on, and can filter through all that's around them and go, wait a minute, all these people I maybe used to read about in books that were so inspiring and so uplifting, and well, I have one right here. For them to recognize that.
Yes, right. And she was a senior in high school. It was a really special moment. And I've shared it many times because it is such a special thing. Everybody knows I'm one of the most proud LinkedIn papas out there. And, I talk about my monkeys all the time on LinkedIn. They're in videos with me. In fact, we'll be sharing a holiday video that I've shared the last couple of years. We made it the first year, but everybody loves it, and it's just tons of fun. It's literally us dancing together to holiday music. But the best part about it is not the minute and 17 seconds of the actual video. It's the 6 minutes of literally bloopers of all what it took to actually get through it. And it's the funniest thing ever, and it's just so much fun. So yeah, I bring up a word again that you shared earlier. I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful for the life that I've been given, the breadths I've been given, the experiences I've been given, Tourette's, which I was given, being a small and weird kid, realizing that I had a voice and that could impact other people, to find their voice. Right. Because that's the deep root when it comes to Voice Your Vibe. That's what it is knowing that you do have a voice in a story and that you matter. And
you can impact that one person, and you really can impact that one person.
It's a ripple effect. Yes, it's a ripple effect, Peter. It's a ripple effect. How do you change the world? One person at a time. It's one person sharing with another, and the impact that you have on that person and that footprint that you make that winds up carrying on to others. And again, that's what we've all done together. You think about LinkedIn video, and I, again, think about just reflection. I think about the platform and the last 17 years I've been here and how much it's evolved, but especially in the last couple of years with LinkedIn video, LinkedIn Live, and now LinkedIn Stories. LinkedIn, I always say, is built the digital playground. And we, as the kindergartners, decided to show up and play together. And it was never about, because that's what happens in kindergarten. It's like, doesn't matter what you look like, where you come from, what your ethnicity is, what your religion is. Like, we're all just kids in the playground, right? And we're just, we don't know each other. And like you and I, we've seen each other on the platform. We literally just met. You reached out and said, "Hey, I'd love to have you on the show." And this is the first time that we've actually met in person, right? And what an incredible gift that we've been given through technology, to be able to communicate, to be able to build relationships together, to be able to find family that you never knew you had, and to be able to explore, this incredible gift of our own vibes and our own voices, and the incredible things that happen when we come together. It's this epiphany we each and every one of us finds when it happens, and when you realize, hey, this isn't about me.
That's the key. Well, you hit it there. That's the key right there. The day you're born, I guess, and the day you find out why. And it's, and being on LinkedIn, that's a little bit deeper than what we just said, but being on LinkedIn, why are you here? What's the purpose of being here? What's your intention? It'll show up. It'll show up in your conversations. It'll show up in your tribe. It'll show up in how people relate to you and interact with you. So, yeah, listen, I super appreciate that. Let me wind down. I joked at the beginning before we went on the air. Everybody, we had about 2 minutes before we went on, and I joked with them. I said, "Hey, listen. I'm just going to show you how I start the show and stuff, and then we'll come on." I said, "Don't worry, it's not Oprah or anything. I'm not going to make you cry." So now, hey, listen, I'm going to put that in my little scoreboard there. That's good. I got Brian Shulman. But hey, listen, I appreciate you being so open and honest and transparent. That's what's super important in this conversation as well. Let me ask you this before we get to some fun. We're going to get to some fun, so don't you just hang in there with me. This has been fun, by the way. I just love having a different kind of conversation, because, and I'm saying this with complete admiration. I mean, I see your show, I see the content you create, and it is very fun and interactive and so on. And I'm always fascinated with the people that are behind that, and so that we can relate like this. I just appreciate your transparency and so on. Let me ask you this: it's been a crazy 2020, crazy year, but in the world, like I said, we're full of technology. It's just, there's so much going on. Obviously, there's so much going on. I'm just wondering, what keeps you optimistic right now? What is it right now that keeps you most hopeful? During these times, and maybe as we look into the future here.
That is such a good question. It's such an important question because there's so many people out there that have lost hope.
Mm.
And sorry, I'm having my own little moment.
Okay.
Part of the reason why I show up on LinkedIn Live every week, twice a week, now 136 episodes respectively for my two shows. So whatever the math is, 270 something shows. And in this pandemic specifically, I evolved the shows, and I kept hearing this word social distancing, and I'm like,
Mm.
that's not right. That doesn't sound right to me. We're physically distant, but socially we're together. What can I do with that? And I came up with something I call social dancing. And it was all, okay, how can I bring people together? Because anybody who knows me knows that's what I'm all about. I love bringing people together because incredible things happen when we come together. And, so I looked at that, and then, I looked at something else that my dear friend Stephanie Liu had brought me and my producer Tim Sohn, who I love to pieces, onto Snapcam, which you can download on your computer, but you can integrate it to StreamYard, like we're on. Shout out to Gage and StreamYard, and most of the technological platforms. And it was that was where the comedy came out of me, by the way, like more so than ever, because it allowed me to like kind of filter through the filters. And
That's right. That's
so
right.
those two things I added to the shows, and music, where people can come onto the show literally through the comments, come onto the show. Tim, my producer, will bring it in the green room, and then you come on the show and you pick your jam, and we drop it, and we do some dancing together, and we have a good time, and we share what's good in your life, or what you see in the world, or what you're grateful for, who you're grateful for, right? Who's made a positive impact in your life. And again, we keep bringing up this word gratitude together, Peter, and I think gratitude is so important and so powerful, and so right now more than ever, especially in the past 9 months, needed, because when we're grateful, when we share gratitude, we experience life in a different way.
Yes.
And I will say, I've had so many of my own hard moments along this journey. I've struggled so much in the last 9 months. But hope is an incredible gift to all of us, and I always talk about that in my shows, which is about, we're growing through this together. We're in this together. And,
Mm.
and I think giving people the gift of a smile, of a laugh, of fun, which is not a word you'd expect to be hearing in the middle of a pandemic,
No.
or experiencing in the middle of a pandemic.
Sure.
I've had so many people come onto my shows that were depressed. We had a guy come on the show from India who said he'd been in quarantine for seven days, and said, "This is the first time I've been happy and smiled. It's because of you guys."
Wow.
Someone who's come on the show in their 60s and said, "I've been depressed, and I come on your show and I feel better." Like, that is impact. And we talk about impacting one person's life. Like, I don't care how many views my shows get, and the quote unquote the vanity metrics. One person, and people from all over the world come on the show, and come on the show, right? They're not only showing up and engaging in the comments and experiencing that with us, but they're coming on and having fun and enjoying that too. And it's giving them hope. It's giving them hope, knowing that, okay, we're all going through this and growing through this together. We're going to get through this together. It's not going to be easy, but that doesn't mean we can't lift one another up along the way to do it. And that's my gift, I guess, per se, is just because all I kept thinking was, how can I do my part? How can I help lift others? How can I help bring people together? How can I help?
How can I serve? How can I serve? Right?
Yes, and give people hope in a time, not just a pandemic, but in a time overall, the last 9 months, where we have, gosh, just so much happening. Not seeing each other as human beings, but by the color of our skin, and so many other things.
Big subject, really huge subjects.
I mean, what has happened in just 9 months? Any one of these,
right?
2020, we will literally look back and go, "Whoa, Like, how is it possible that all of this went down in 1 year?
Right.
You know, and at the same time, how we've been able to come together through adversity and through struggle and through pain, and create more love and more hope and more togetherness. And I always say there's a silver lining, right, to everything through all the struggle, all the pain, right, that we've all gone through together. We have each other, and technology has been an incredible gift that's empowered us. Because, and I think I was talking to somebody yesterday about this too, where, you know, that has been an incredible gift to us. Can you imagine, Peter, if we had gone through this year without technology that we have today?
Oh, well, just like you said, it boggles the mind. You can't even extrapolate that far. I can't even, we can't fathom. I can't fathom it because
I can't even begin to. Gosh,
imagine kids today who I have one, like, you know, you have this. I mean, you have this, and it's so natural to have this ability to reach out to anybody in the world with one of these.
yes,
And if you take that away with the complexity of our world today, to live through what we've lived through without being able to do like what you and I have done, literally, we're connecting with each other from different parts of the world. And you just mentioned India, for example, which I love that. That's why I love that story as an example. You're doing a show and somebody from India comes on and says, "Hey, first time I smiled in 7 days." Now, it's
yeah,
not like someone in your neighborhood, which is great too, by the way, someone in your community, someone you know, a family member you called or whatever, some person you have zero connection with other
yeah.
than they read your
That was it.
broadcast.
Other than we're both on LinkedIn, he caught the broadcast, and we even had him on the show. The connection wasn't great, but we had him on the show, and you know, it's incredible, Peter. I mean, again, the gift of technology to bring us together when we can't physically be together. You know, I was supposed to travel internationally for a bunch of keynotes and other speaking engagements this year. Of course, they didn't happen, right? But the beauty of technology brings us all together to be able to do that and come together socially, digitally, in ways that the beauty about this is the only thing missing is I can't literally reach through the screen and give you a hug, but like all the other emotions and senses are there, and that's the power of technology and the ability for us to come together. And you know, and remember this too, you know, you never know who you're impacting when you show up. I'll share another quick story with you real quick. January of this year, someone had reached out to me in my tribe. We had never actually had a physical conversation together. And she says, you know, "Hey, Brian, I felt compelled to reach out and send you a message. I wanted you to know what an impact you've made on my life in the last year. I've been following your content and your videos." And she said, you know, "I've had a really, really hard life the last year." What I got from the message, I won't get in all the details, was that, you know, I think she almost took her life. And she said, "You will never know the impact you've had in helping me get through what I've been through." And I've gotten many of those messages. I don't talk about this stuff because I don't feel the need to. It's just not my jam. Like I want them to know, right? Because it's so important. It's so hard to share something like that with somebody. And so we had a really nice, you know, chat together and communication. But I just, you know, because you don't see people showing up, or you don't see people responding, or you don't hear from anyone or get any messages, just know that when you show up, you are always impacting one person's life when you do that. And that is such an amazing gift that we all have.
Powerful story, and I relate to that because I often feel that, and so because a lot of people reach out to me and think like, "Hey, I see you on your show, and you seem like you like." You know, whether you're confident or whatever term they might use, I'm like, listen, I'm none of those things. None of those things. I struggle just like you, scared to death just as much as you, and also feeling at times that you're not making an impact. And then the next text you get or the next email you get is like, "Hey, Peter, I just want to tell you I love what you're doing, and it really inspired me today." And I'll be like, "What?" And so just like you
Right?
said, just showing up you don't know who you're going to impact. And when you stop thinking about why yourself, then you realize how important it is to remember that. So I super
Yeah.
appreciate you sharing that story. That's such a
Oh,
powerful
you're
message
so
for everyone to
welcome.
remember.
I want to say
That's a
hi to a
great
couple of people actually that I see showing up in the comments.
Sure.
Melody and Nancy and Gabe. I see you guys, and I love all of you.
Hey, I'll jump and find some of those with you.
Yeah.
Hey, I know how your jam goes. Yours is awesome. This is constant interaction, and I apologize to all of the people out there, part of the Vibe Tribe. They're thinking like, geez, Peter's not even bringing in any conversations. Well,
It's okay.
my show's just a little different, everybody. I'm just chatting with Brian here. But listen, we'll get to the comments,
No, it's
Brian. I
good.
appreciate that. Listen,
It's
buddy,
good.
absolutely, because that's part of your tribe. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Let me just we're going to jump to some fun, and before we do that, so this is a big one, but you know what? Cole's notes this one because I need a whole show with you on this. Okay, this is a whole show question, but I thought let's just run with it and see what happens here. Like there's 750 million people on this platform, but let's just pretend we got Zuckerberg and Facebook, Twitter, everyone together, and they gave you the platforms for a minute or so, and just to talk to the world, just in general, like right now. What message? What's message do you think you need to share or want to share that's on your mind to the world right now? What would that message be?
Wow. Life does, and will continue to throw us all mad curveballs. And when we come together, we can get through anything because we're learning and we're growing. Unbeknownst to us at the time, we don't think we can get through anything, but we all have the courage and the bravery together, hearts beating individually, to come together as one to keep fighting. And to, this is not the first tragedy that we've experienced in our human life, right? But we will get through it together. And the key is together. Because while we can't be or shouldn't be together physically, we can be together digitally. Yes. And all of these platforms give us the opportunity to come together, to know that we're not alone, to remember that we are not alone, to remember that we're all struggling together and that we're in it together and that we will get through it together. We just have to be smart about it.
Yeah.
So
I love that. Like I said, we will get through it. There's no doubt about that. There is no doubt about that. And I guess some of that messaging is what are we getting to? What's on the other side? And how do we come out as people? How do we come out as a family? How do we come out as a tribe? Those kinds of things. So, hey, that's a great message. I appreciate that. One of the things about LinkedIn that I love so much is when we do this, I feel I know you, but I don't, and vice versa, right? I mean, that's what's so fascinating about this stuff. Is that we kind of know each other, we kind of don't. I really didn't know, you played bass and things like that as a musician. I knew you were a musician, but I didn't know, I played the whiskey. Hey, that's kind of cool stuff. This is the kind of stuff you don't know unless you're sitting down having a pint or just that. It just doesn't come up on LinkedIn, right? Not normally anyway. But I have a little thing that I love doing with my guests, and I'm looking forward to doing this with you. It's something called This or That. It's This or That with Brian Shulman. This or that.
All right.
No big thinking here. There's no rocket science here. It's just this or that. I'll throw out a couple things to you. You just pick one of them, and it'll give us a little bit more insight into Brian and who he is and all that kind of stuff. You ready? All right, buddy. Sounds good. Now we talked about this. I had, and just so everyone knows, I'm super sensitive with my guests. I'm so respectful. I want to make sure that I never go out of turn, and so I always ask them before we have this: do they drink alcohols? So I asked him before, just because. Hey, listen, if you don't, it's cool. I got another question for you. But how about this one? We'll start with this or that: whiskey or wine?
Say it one more time.
Whiskey or wine?
Wine.
Spider-Man or Batman?
Spider-Man.
60s music or 80s music?
80s music.
Movies. Movies: Shawshank Redemption or Gladiator?
Oh, they're both great movies.
Right.
I mean, oh geez, Shawshank or Gladiator. I don't know. Gladiator.
Oh, I love that movie. I love
It
them
was
both.
such a great. Yeah, I mean, they're both great movies.
Oh, geez, I could write a book literally, and I plan to on that on that movie. Just so you know. Anyway, I just threw that out there. Chinese food or Italian food?
Well, yeah, grew up. I love both, but I'm a Jewish Italian kid, so I love Italian food.
There you go. There you go. Skydive or scuba dive?
Neither. Like I, you know,
You
so so I,
you
I
wouldn't want
always
to do
say,
one?
I always say I'll never jump out of a perfectly good airplane. Uh, and I have friends that have done both. And scuba diving, you know, look, man, when Jaws came out, it terrified me for life. It scarred me for life. So I'm like, you know, you're gonna put me in the water with a tank where there's shark. No, I'm good, thanks.
Okay, so that's what I'm saying. I didn't know that. I didn't. They scared
Yeah.
of sharks. Yeah, I got it. He's scared of sharks. I love it. I love it. Okay, how about your 50th birthday? It's coming up in probably 4.5 years or so. What a big party, giant party, or small friends and family gathering?
Oh, you know, so this is a cool little tiny answer to this story. So I want to give a shout out to my dear friend Lila Smith. So my mom threw me parties as a kid,
Hmm.
like cool parties. Like she'd have like Darth Vader and Chewbacca and a stormtrooper show up, like cool stuff,
Wow,
right?
that's cool.
But outside of my mom, I've never had anybody throw me a party before.
Oh,
And my dear friend Lila, when I started my company 2.5 years ago, said, when I told her I was starting my company, she's like, "Oh my gosh, will you come to Dallas? I want to throw you a launch party for your company." I said, "What?"
hmm.
I said, "Seriously?" She's like, "Yes." I said, "Nobody's ever thrown me a party before outside of my mom." She's like, "Are you serious?" I said, "Yes." She's like, "Can you get to Dallas?" I said, "Well, yeah. I mean, I literally just filed, you know, papers, LLCs and whatnot for my company." I said, "I don't have. I mean, all I have is just." She's like, "Well, you have you, right?" I said, "Yeah." She said, "Well, that's all you need." And Lila threw me this incredible party, which was filled with people from LinkedIn, and
Wow.
it was amazing. It was amazing. Like I will never be able to share with Lila what that trip meant to me. Just, you know, and you know, so look, I love people. I love, you know, bringing people together. I love being around people. Anybody that knows me loves that, which is why I love traveling everywhere. Um, I mean, small, big. I just love
Both. Both.
both. Yeah, both. There you go. Both. Yeah. Gosh, why do I have to make a choice? Both.
We're not allowed to link. Well, this or that. I just gave you a note for that. That's all. But I just gave you a note. I gave you a
There we
note.
go.
It's all
I
good.
appreciate.
It's all
Yeah.
good.
Thank you. Yeah.
How about award shows? Oscars or Grammys?
Oh, geez. Like,
You only had to watch one. You could only watch one.
oh, I could only watch one. I don't know. Grammys.
Yeah, I was thinking that for music. I'm not sure, but you love movies too. I know that. That's for sure.
Yeah.
I
I
want
mean,
to.
they're both cool. Like,
Yeah,
yeah,
it's the creative process. I mean, love being around creative people, right? So
absolutely.
that's what makes it fantastic. How about this one? Visit the International Space Station or visit 100 countries?
Oh, wow. Um, I would probably say 100 countries.
Mm,
I mean,
yeah.
you never know who's going to be at the International Space Station, but if you travel 100 countries, you get to experience
Oh,
100 different worlds.
couldn't agree more. Couldn't agree
Yeah.
more with that. Couldn't agree more. How about this one? How about a day on Necker Island with Richard Branson or a day in Dublin with Bono?
Oh, wow. See, and I've got two different kind of perspectives
Yep.
on those, right?
I
The
know. That's why
musician
you're
and
a
me.
musician and you're a business
But
guy.
then again, you know, though, I would actually probably, I mean, I love both those guys for so many different reasons, but I probably would pick Bono because many people don't know Bono is heavily invested in
Yes.
technology and he's an incredibly smart business
Mhm.
guy. So the creative juices that, I mean, again, through both of them, but Yeah, I think Bono would be pretty cool, and then to be able to jam with him too would be pretty
Totally,
fun.
right?
So
In Dublin, are
yeah,
you kidding me? At the Brazen Head, it was a Brazen Head pub. I think it opened at like 1198 or something, sitting at a pub in Dublin with Bono. Come on, all
yeah,
day long, all
that'd
day long.
be that'd be crazy.
How about this one? $50 million today or guaranteed healthy life till 100?
Oh God, yeah. I mean, well, I think we appreciate every breath that we have now more than ever.
Mm,
Um, if I always say to my wife, I hope that you go first,
mm.
or I'm sorry, I hope that I go first.
Right. No, I know what you meant by that. I know
And
what
I
you meant.
and I and I
Yep.
mean that because I can't imagine my life without her
Mm,
and how hard that would be. She's much
mm,
stronger than I am. So I know that she would. I know I'd be okay. She'd be okay, but I mean, every day is a gift. So
mm.
would $50 million change my life? Sure, absolutely would. It would in so many different ways. Um, but what we don't know about that is $50 million today and how much time.
Bingo.
So,
Bingo.
I'd say 100 years, because the reality is it could be $50 million today and I die tonight. Well, okay.
Right.
Well, that could go to my family so that they would be okay for the rest of their lives, right?
Right.
And if that were the
Right.
case, then I would pick that, because I'd know that every day that I've had up to that point, and to that moment was a gift in itself to me. So there's a lot of like behind the scenes to those
Oh,
questions
I
to
know.
go, well, if this and that, right, then okay, then this, but if not, then
Right.
that.
Well, this is why it's so fascinating to watch how people answer them, because if you just
It's
go
like
like
the
that,
Rorschach tip. Yeah,
I'm a little concerned when you do that.
right.
I
Yeah,
mean, when you do skydive, scuba dive, no problem, one or the other. But these type of ones, when someone goes like that, I'm like, whoa, you got to go a little deeper there. That's okay.
yeah,
It's all good, my friend. How about this one?
yeah.
Hope or freedom?
Oh, well, there's hope in freedom. There's hope even without freedom because you fight for it. Again, this is another, you
Mm,
know,
mm,
when there's no freedom, well, it's hard to keep hope. There's always hope somewhere.
right.
Um, and then with freedom, it's yeah, you got some interesting questions. Uh,
That's okay.
I
I
mean,
just
I
wanted, I just
mean,
wanted to see your
I
take on
mean,
it. Yeah.
hope is one of the most powerful things we can all have. If when you lose hope, you feel like there's nothing left.
Right.
And now more than ever, we need hope in the world, right?
Yeah.
So
Absolutely.
I,
Absolutely.
I,
I heard
I
this phrase about
mean,
hope. I heard this phrase about hope. I think you can
yeah.
relate to this. People can live basically, the idea is that you can live three weeks without food, 3 days without water, 3 minutes without air, but not 3 seconds without hope. So very,
That's
very
good.
powerful. So very
Yeah,
powerful thought. The idea you lose hope
it
and
is.
it's done. It's done. Yeah, I appreciate
Yeah,
that. No, I appreciate you
yeah.
putting thought into these, my friend. It's fun. It's all good. It's all good. Hey, this is the last one. This is really simple. It's not even this or that. Just finish this sentence for me. Finish this sentence. I love my life because
I love my life because I'm able to inspire other people with my voice, which I didn't know I had, which I didn't think I had, with a story which I didn't think mattered. And my being able to impact others because of that, to know that they
mm,
do, and inspire others to know that they do,
Hey man, that's fantastic.
Impact.
That's fantastic legacy right there. Nothing wrong with that. That's fantastic. All right, I'll let you off the hook. That's the end of it. It was a lot of fun.
I'm like,
He's
yes,
like, well,
Alex,
this is
what
just
is
too deep. Too deep. All right, listen, we're going to jump to, I'm going to go through these real quick because I know Tribe is, this is everyone tuning. Listen, they're not tuning in for me. They're tuning in for you. So look, let's throw up a couple here. There you are right there. You're throwing it all up there. There's Nancy. I'm going to make sure I throw some of these up here. Melody. I know Melody. Good to see you, Melody, Massachusetts. Absolutely. There's your producer. Boom. There he is. Shout out to the monkey. There he is. Yes, moms are the best. We had that conversation. Absolutely. Right. There's your good friend right there. Raquel, of course, we actually,
Raquel.
yeah,
Yes.
fantastic. Let's see who else is here. Let's see. Tim. Oh, well, Tim has a whole bunch of stuff going on here. So I'm just going back and forth here. Let me see. Here's Gabe. Look, Gabe, there you are, buddy. Good to see.
Yes.
Good to see Gabe. Gabe has been very helpful to me when I was trying to get the LinkedIn Live happening and all that kind of stuff. So I appreciated his messages to me to keep my chin up and all that kind of stuff. And there's a name for you right there. That is my beautiful spouse's name, Renuka Mohan. Good to see you, my darling. There you go. There she is. That's Power Technology. So we were talking about technology and all that kind of stuff. I'm glad she's watching the show. She's at work, but so obviously she's got some downtime. I'll hear that when I get home. I'll hear that when I get home. And here it is. I would pick the money. Look at Melody. I would pick the money because I could help a lot of people with it. So
absolutely,
to the point of what we just chatted about it, philanthropy is a big thing on my in my world that I appreciate the concept of talking about. And so that's the first thing that pops in my mind with these large sums of money. I always think, well, what could I do with that? And how many lives could I impact? And then when I leave, it still has that legacy effect. So I don't know. There's no right or wrong answers, but I appreciate you putting so much thought into them. Listen, my good friend. I'm going to say this once and for all. I knew this would be awesome to speak with you. I knew it would be awesome. And I so appreciate your transparency and how you opened up about some of the things we talked about, especially Tourette's. I wanted to bring that up because guaranteed somebody out there heard that message and their life is now better and it's going to change. So and you're using your voice now for that. That's such a powerful message for everybody. And the fact about premature, for babies and so on, for families that struggle through that and so on, right over there is the outcome of the good stuff that can happen. So keep the faith, everybody, on that. Brian, my fine friend, I hope we get a chance to do this again.
Peter, it's been such a pleasure. And, I just want to leave everybody with this. I know that this year has been so hard for so many people. And, I just want you to know that you're not alone and that, that we all have voices and stories waiting to unfold, especially in these times that we're in, and that there is always a tribe out there to support you and support us collectively in this, great journey that lies ahead, the land of the unknown. We literally don't know what's going to happen 1 second to the next, but know that you're not alone and reach out to one another and ask, how are you doing? It's such a powerful question to be asking right now, and be prepared to listen. Be prepared to listen if it's not well and if it's not good, and be there to comfort and to lift that other person up, because having an ear right now is such an important thing. I think so many people are packing that down and not feeling like you have a place to let go of it, to share it. It's incredible when you release that. But know that you've got people around you to do that, and know you're not alone, and know that we're gonna get through everything that we're growing through together as we always do on this planet. And that I love all of you, and I appreciate you. And Peter, I appreciate you.
Thank you, my fine friend. It's been a pleasure. So stick around. I'll chat with you after for a second, if you will. Everybody else out there, listen, thank you for tuning in on LinkedIn. We're also out on Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, all kinds of different places. You can find us out there, but this is linked up on LinkedIn. So, of course, that was our priority today. Everybody else, listen, just be kind out there, everybody. How about that? Let's just be kind out there. Brian, see you on the other side. Peace, everybody. So I found a new friend, and we traded a pen for this soccer ball. And I thought it was really nice because I just gave him the pen because he'd been helping me throughout the day to learn Kinyarwanda. And he's a very smart boy, knows English very well, very good English. Yes. So I gave him a pen, which they love pens, and 10-15 minutes later he came back and gave me a ball for the trade. So I just thought that was really, really cool because I didn't ask for it.
Let's see ball.
So
Umupira? Umupira.
Yeah, pita. Yeah, so he gave me that, so I'm really, really happy about that, and I'll be bringing this back to Canada. And yeah, I thought it was awesome. He's a really, really, really clever kid. He's going to be an English teacher.
Professor.
Yeah.
Anglais.
That's it. Thank you. Thank you.